Okay, on today's agenda is we've got to get that instrument bezel out of the dash, right? And start recreating that and seeing how our electronics are working with our old stuff that was there and if our wiring's going to work. To do that, we got to get this thing down off the lift, get it out of the wrapper, and basically get that seat out so we can figure out how to get Fat Man in Little Place. Alright, if I remember right, there's 4 bolts under the seat. And if I remember right, these ones were a little more tricky. With the seat out of the way, we can take the floor mat out. Somebody should really watch this. Stole my wife's cushions. Don't tell her. I don't know if you guys are going to see anything here, but anyways, in order to avoid Fat Man in Little Place, I decided to use all the technology I had my hands on, which is camera poking up underneath there. It's a red rubby to find the screw. I think I got it. See if we get my hand up in there. Bingo. We cannot all fit in here together, but under here you'll see there's a quick disconnect here, a couple of them to disconnect the wires to the pod, and then there's this cable here for the speedo. Alright, now we get her out. So there you can see what the top of the dash looks like. Everything is wired in here. So now I got to label everything, and I'll use this piece on the front here. That'll be a template for the next one for the perimeter. I have the Speedo that I bought, the new one, the Replica Speedo, and I've also bought a Hall effect sensor from Speedometer, and I think it's a 16 pulse holographic sensor. So it's converting the manual cable driven signal with that spinning into the Speedometer. It's converting that to a square wave 16 pulse signal into the speedo in order to get the speeds to register, sort of thing. And I've got it kind of jiggy wired up here to kind of simulate that. So the idea is I squeeze the drill, it's simulating this tires turning. You should see gauge go up. All right, put power to it. It should start going. Well, Lambo might be maxing out about there. I'd be maxing out there. Destruction. Blew up. Even the sensor's confused. So you would think after doing that, hey, we're good to go. Nope. About 6 years ago when I took this apart, I was sure there was this 7/8 fitting in here. And that does not a 7/8. It's a 5/8. 7/8. Not gonna work. So I think Dakota Digital had something. I've ordered one of them up. Got the Dakota Digital Hall effect sensor. See if it works. I've not tested this yet. Hey, look at that. I think we got it. I'm gonna take this panel, the instrument panel, apart from this housing. I just see there's some screws here, and there's a bracket down in there that seem to be holding it. So let's get that out of there. So started pulling everything apart, just taking off the clips so that I can start labeling each of these wires. So I've cut my first one, which happens to be the backlighting for, you know, and all these are lit with light bulbs and then backlit. So that's the backlighting. So stole my wife's label maker, comes in handy. Print them off, label them all up as I go. Harness is basically disconnected, and I labeled each of the wires to where they led for the signals for across all the gauges. So that's all disconnected now. I've cut all the wires and to each of the indicators or the gauges themselves. Now I just got to pull these out of here. Been wanting to take that off for a long time. With all of that disconnected now, I can start working on putting the new gauges in there and the layout I want to use. Okay, well I took our previous instrument panel here and mocked up, you know, where I wanted to put the new cutouts for the latest. And then the guys in engineering owed me a favor, so they owed Blake a favor, and I took the favor for myself. Anyways, I just got to square off these corners. They did this layout, the CAD for me, and then CNC cut this. And I think, you know, for the size and layout, I think it's great. The only place I'm close is here, where these instrument pods hang out. They should be sitting, resting on top of the dash, but it's going to be close. So we need to load it up with all the stuff and then check it in the car. It appears we're in. I'll show you. All right, hang on. You're going in. Some of you viewers will notice that I've shortened it. And that's because of that bar right there. But we're good now. A wrinkly piece of leather. Here. All right, I'm not getting too fancy. I got what was in the cupboard of adhesive, contact adhesive. This 3M Super 77. So we're going with today. So I'm just gonna coat the back side of the leather here, coat the top and the sides as best I can, all the way around each of the holes and around the edges, and then flop that piece of leather on there and hope for the best. Quicker than I thought. Sticking everywhere. Let's get that there. We're not too bad. Now do the inside holes here. Start in the middle and work your way out of it. That's how you do it. Learn as I go here. Yeah, my first one. Hey, I don't know if you can see it. It came up pretty good. All right, as you can see, I got all the gauges in there. They all fit in really well. Even got the little reset button there for the speedo trip. And I just got them kind of sitting in there for now. I've got to do all the back mounts here and square them all up properly, but it's good. Fits the way I wanted, and I'm really happy with how it looks. Looks fantastic. Thanks to Mavic by the horns for finding these for me. So next thing is wiring. Ooh, a lot of wiring. Lamborghini, I believe, backlights everything in that green, kind of going with that whole Alpine theme on the deck and how that green backlight they have. So,
enter the world of Alpine mobile electronics, car audio systems, mobile cellular telephones, mobile security systems, all with quality that could only come from one source.
Alpine, nice touch.
Lamborghini has the Alpine touch.
I need to change out each of these backlit bulbs. Lamborghini did green on the backlighting on the gauges, kind of like the whole Alpine thing. You know how they have that green fonts or green backlighting on everything. So you can put some covers over the bulbs to kind of give that green hue. So I got to put those all in there. And then I just want to check the continuity with each one of these just to make sure all the bulbs are good and there's not one burnt out. Connected up all the hot leads. So basically got the positive running in here. And then from here, teed off of it and gone out to each of the positives for each of the gauges. And then done the same thing with the ground, coming the ground here and then each of the gauges going out. Next thing I got to do is wire up the dimmer to each of the bulbs, and then each of the signals that I've got from the old gauges along with the new ones to wire each of them in. With most of the gauges all wired up, now I just have the indicator pods that I made to wire up. With that, I got the high beams, check engine light, turn signals, and I think that's about it. And then they're going to come to the common ground here. Still got it loose, and I've got to bring in them in a new bundle and a new quick disc connect that I've got for putting those together. And then I've also got the speedo sensor that has to come in here on that new bundle. All right, so next thing is I've bench tested this with the battery on everything. Everything seems to be working properly. So now I need to go in and put some connectors on some of those wires that are in the car for the left turn, right turn, check engine light. There's a few other things what I had to do. Oh, the speedo Hall effect sensor needs to be wired into that same adapter in the car because it's going to stay in the car. And then I can plug it all together and kind of throw the spark test on it. Hit the power, run it, see how it works. And we need to hook it up. New one. This is the old one. Guess we just do the spark test. Try it. Can't say I'm not nervous. Okay, power's on. So far so good, but I just realized no power comes up to this until you put the key on. So let's start accessories and go to power. Volt gauge over here is coming up. Power's on right there on the tack. I don't know if you guys can't probably see it because stuff's in the way, but the trip's on. Don't smell anything. Guess we try some things. Flicker. Hey, it's working here. Working there. Check engine light's on. Oh yeah, it is. Huh, good. Should be. My fuel gauge is reading a little under half a tank, which is about right. So that's good. I guess next is to start it. On, started. I gotta press freaking clutch down, dummy. Hey, tack works. Bars are coming down. Should we spin the tire and see if we get any? Nothing there. So I gotta fix that drive cable for the Speedo. We're up to 14 amps, almost 14 volts I should say now. And this oil temperature gauge is not hooked up. It's the wire that I put on. We guess we could wait and see if that comes up. It's the water temperature. Check engine light went out like it's supposed to. RPM's coming down. Oh, looks normal. So there's dip switches in the back of that RPM gauge to kind of set it for a V8 or 6 or 4-cylinder. No 12s feature. Well, not sure why. Okay, let's put the lights on. Hey, it works. Look at that. Backlight comes on all of them. Sweet. Where's the dimmer feature works? Hey, it does. Look at that. Like the only thing I gotta fix is I need to figure out how to extend that shaft so that it goes into this, or do I go with one of the Hall effects that Mav from Bull by the Horns supplied. So I took the key stock that came with the Dakota Digital Hall effects sensor and basically using a toothpick splint keyed it in with the other piece of key stock with the old JB weld. Hopefully it holds it. I think I got it pretty straight.
Old JBL weld did not work. Twice I tried it with the splint thing, peeled the splints apart. Eventually the JB weld just broke free. Didn't work. Didn't hold up. So I thought, okay, I got a metal solder. But then as I was getting the metal solder out, I realized, hey, I have those shrink tubes that have the solder built into it. Maybe I'll try that, see if that worked. Nope, that didn't work either. So then I went to test the metal solder to see if it would hold up. It actually worked really good. I think that'll work. But I could not get to solder that end inside the car. That's not sticking up far enough. I couldn't get enough reach on it to kind of heat up the tip and transfer enough heat to get the solder to flow and the flux, and it just wouldn't work. I could not. I tried a couple times, couldn't get it go. So I ended up cutting the outside of the fitting and placed so I could get some more depth with the Hall effects sensor into the cable, and that seemed to work. So I just cut the clip and then put a new C-clip that I made in the back side of the thread so I could thread the whole thing together. And that seems to be working, so I've got that put in there. All right, next up I had to wire our oil temperature sender. So that was that white wire I had up in the bezel, put in the new connector for it. Ran that, I had to run it down through the gear shifter linkage tunnel to the engine bay. So I fed a couple coat hangers up. Going in. Really lucky it poked out in a great spot and taped up the wire to it, pulled it through. Onto the wire. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. Oh, gotta go up. I guess you guys want to see what this says. Back of the firewall here is an inlet. Right there's where we're going. I'm gonna route this wire, basically kind of tuck it along this guy back here, because he goes up, and over there he
You tease, it goes up, I think, to the top of the engine. Then I got it up on top of the engine bay. And to get at the access point for the sender, there's a square plug currently in the access point. And I could not get it off. I had a 7mm, so I was just trying to get at it. I could feel the wrench opening up as I was trying to turn it. And I could just tell I was going to round it off. It's going to be trouble. So I decided I'd try to get the top access from it. So I took to take the EGR valve off, get access to top side of that plug. And there was nothing I could find in the shop to get it. So I waited, got a special socket from Amazon. Fit on perfectly. It was 5/16 square head. Put that on there, and that worked. It really pulled the plug out. And Mav's sender that he sent me was perfect because I tested the depth of that valley to make sure there's enough clearance and it wasn't going to obstruct flow with the sending unit sensor that Mav had sent me, and it was great. So I put that in there, wired it up, and then put everything back together, and battery back in, all that good stuff. So it's all put to bed. Tidied up the wires as best I could. It's ready to go in. So with that, we can put the bezel back in, hook it up, bolt the two screws back into it to attach it to the dash, and put the seat back in, and we're good to try. Wow, did it look good? What a difference. I should have done this years ago. Oh, it's good. I could see all the gauges pretty clearly. The only ones that are blocked, I'm actually working out really good. I'm in between the RPM gauge and the water temp gauge with the wheel. And over on this side, because the wheel's offset, just like the real deal, it does block the new oil temperature gauge that I've got. So it's not a biggie. But the voltmeter over on the right, fully clear. Can see it really easy. Looks like, yeah, my right turn signal is just blocked, but the left one I could see. Good thing is, check engine light I can see. So, interesting. All right, let's turn it on and see if things light up. So far, so good. Everything's coming up as expected. Now to fire it up. Okay, fuels come up. RPMs are working. We are live. We're at 2+ bars. Speedo's alive. And the Speedo works. I'm not very good at turning it, but it works. Everything else, oil temperature and water temperature will be down low just to get it started, but we're at 14 volts. Just checking if the turn signal left works. Turn signal right works. There you can see the temperatures come up, fans have come on. Bars have dropped down because the oil's hot. And it's confirmed because the needle's coming up on the oil temperature. It's working! That's great. I'm super happy with that. Thanks to Mav and Bull by the Horns for supplying the gauges and helping me find that and a lot of the other stuff. The dash pod is done, but just don't look at the rest of it. Don't look at the rest of it. Don't look over there. Stay over here. Look, don't look over there. Stay here. Stay here.
So yeah, the lower half of the dash has to be done next, along with the center console and the gated shifter. Some of those parts I'm missing. I might have to make some of them, and we'll tackle those next winter. That's this one done. You know, for you guys, that was like 20 odd minutes of video. For me, it was about 2.5 months, and the last year and a half of collecting the parts to get started on this. So it's a big deal. Looking forward to spring. But this car's not getting out of the garage right now. See ya.